Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The New World. And in today's video, we discuss the ethics of the scoring champ and MVP of this year's NBA season, face of OKC, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, after SGA secured the MVP that fans were waiting to be announced, SGA, mainly for fans, got a lot of hate surrounding his game and how he gets his buckets. And the word that surrounded him was foul baiter or free throw merchant. And fans are not fond of the amount of free throws the guard receives in multiple games and doesn't respect his game due to his high volume of free throws attempted. Now, before we hop into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't and help us on the way to 10K subs. Turn on those notifications to stay tuned for more content this summer, and comment if you're a fan of SGA's game and if you think he's a foul baiter. So fellas, what are your thoughts on SGA's game? Do you label him a free throw merchant or a foul baiter?
Yeah, I'll start this one off. I think it's very, very simple of an answer to the question, but I think many people just don't like the answer because of kind of the bias that we kind of have watching the film. If we watch the film, it may appear that SGA is a foul baiter, but if you just look at, the number of attempts and drives that he's having, he basically leads the league in drive attempts. And, the amount of contact that's going to come with that, I don't think he's a foul baiter. I think what he is, though, is he doesn't disguise it as well as, most of the great players do. He's kind of in that Joel Embiid category where if he's getting a foul call, it's going to be not necessarily flagrant, but it's going to be like he's trying to initiate the contact, which he is trying to do because that's kind of his game. His game is to get downhill and initiate contact, and that includes bumping people, hooking your arms, which he does with a lot of defenders. We saw him do it with Jaden McDaniels last game in the series. So, he has all these counters and moves to his arsenal that makes him a great scorer, and I think that's what this is. I think I read a report about he's like, compared to like 30-point per game scores, he's like 20th or something all time in like free throw attempts per game. So it's like, if you look at some of these other guys like Kobe Bryant, Jordan, even LeBron in like these MVP years, they have more free throw attempts. So I don't think he is necessarily a, foul baiter. I think he just doesn't get away with it as good as some of those other guys. Kobe Bryant, he had, a huge arsenal of moves that like when he'll get fouled, he'll like shoot into the defender. But because it looked kind of different, the SGA, nobody ever called him a foul. If you look at some of these other guys, Kevin Durant, he had the whole rip-through move in the early 2010s that got patched later on, and it was kind of a foul-baiting move to send you to the free throw line if you were in the penalty or to rack up fouls for the opposing defense, and nobody called him a foul baiter. We all say he's ethical in his scoring, which he is. So I think that's kind of where the difference lies in, how SGA is doing it. He's not doing it as subtle. It kind of is a little more apparent to Joel Embiid or James Harden, where it's kind of fragrant, like he's initiating most of the contact. But I think that's more so a problem with the rules in the NBA. The rules are so much in favor of the offense that they give you so much power. You can kind of just run into a guy and just get an offensive foul. Get a defensive foul call. There's not much the defense can do. All these blocking fouls, you just run in the path. So I think that's more so a contingent to fans is necessarily the refs. Like they kind of getting fooled into believing that some of these are foul calls. I think that's kind of where it lies into, because I don't think it's necessarily a problem. Jalen Brunson does the same thing, and I'd say he's kind of worse at it because Jalen Brunson, he'll just kind of just run into you. Like SJ, at least he's trying to create separation and then initiate the contact, but it's like Jalen Brunson will kind of just run into you if you go for a fake and try to get the foul call. Like he did that multiple times in the Pistons series. So he's a little more outward with that, but SGA, he is the MVP, so he kind of gets a little more light shine on him. So I definitely see why people would think that, but I don't think he is a foul baiter or a free throw line merchant, as the public would say. Public, as I mean, is Twitter. Twitter would say, this guy is Joel Embiid, but in guard version. But I don't think he really is that. I think he is the best scorer in the league. And I'm not just saying that when you just look at the points per game, but if you just look at the aspect of points per game, effective field goal percentage, he's shooting over 50% as a guard. That's crazy. He's shooting high 30s from three. He's shooting about 90% from the free throw line. So he's hovering around the 50, 40, 90. And he's been doing this for a minute. Like, he's been averaging 30 points per game these last 3 seasons. So it's not like he's just had like an outburst of him scoring this. He's been doing this for a minute. He's been burgeoning on this superstar path. I ain't gonna lie, I bought an SGA jersey 3 years ago, so I've kind of been on this a little before y'all. I don't want to flex though, but I've been on this a little before y'all. So not talking about dudes on the pod, but some of these SGA fans, it just came out of nowhere because Oklahoma is a small market. But yeah, I don't think he is. I definitely disagree with the notion. I'm very curious what the other guys on the pod would like to say to that.
Yeah, let's break this down. One thing I want to start off with is just answer the question: do I think SGA is a foul baiter? No. One thing I do want to really put out there on the table, and it's kind of been hinted at, but people don't want to be honest about the conversation. I think that one part of the argument about why this is becoming a little bit more prevalent is because of just social media, specifically Twitter, X, just the impact that it has on NBA culture and the community is just super duper high. So when somebody puts a narrative out there, we just tend to follow it. I just want to say this, that when SGA was awarded his MVP, people started discussing it. People that have interviewed him, had conversations with him. Hate just comes with being great. It just comes with the territory. In the 2023 season, the Oklahoma City Thunder were 40 and 42. SGA averaged 11 free throws per game. This year, 2025 season, they won 68 games. He averaged 32.7 points per game, and he only averaged 8.8 free throws attempts per game. Nobody was talking about him being a foul baiter when they were winning 40 games. But when you become, in my opinion, undoubtedly a top 5, maybe top 3 player in the league, MVP of the league, best team in the league, you're going to get more criticism because now we get to focus in and lock in on you. And with him being in a small market, I just think that makes it even more remarkable what he has done, the fact that he's getting hate on a small market. And another thing we want to just kind of pivot to is the fact that SGA should really just take this as just respect, honestly. And that's kind of how I'm viewing it. I think that the hate is just going into the fact of how great he is as a player, because other niggas that we want to anoint and give them the keys to the car, they don't get no criticism, even when they play badly. He's playing great and he's getting criticism. So just kind of let that stand. Buffy made some really good points if we just want to look at it from a film perspective. When you are an aggressive basketball player, phenomenal scores, because when we look at all-time great scores, especially from the wing to guard position, when I'm thinking Jordan, Kobe, Durant, niggas like that have averaged 30 points on more than one occasion at a pretty efficient rate, especially Jordan and Durant. Even these MVPs that were high volume scorers, a lot of them led the league in free throws, because when you're driving, in order to average 30 points, unless you're Stephen Curry, you're not going to average 30 points from a wing position by shooting a bunch of long range jump shots, standing behind the 3-point line all day. You're going to average that by getting to the foul line, which the only way you're going to get free throws consistently is by driving the basketball and going by defenders. Last few weeks, I've been just really kind of studying and analyzing SGA's game. A lot of these free throws is because, yes, he is initiating contact, but some of these he's blowing by guys. So he's blowing by guys and niggas are trying to hook him because they're getting beat. So him being a very intelligent player, he makes that known so that the refs see that, because if you're not paying attention, in real time, it doesn't look like a foul. But when you actually just slow down and look at it, he's getting fouled. He's blowing by guys and they're trying to hook him because they got beat. It's a little bit of illegal contact. He's seeing that, he's noticing that, he's going up, ripping through, trying to get a shot. Now, honestly, if we really want to keep it a bean, more often than not, that is just an on-the-floor foul, not a shooting foul. So that, I think that's where the refs will probably have to tighten up a little bit if you want to nitpick. But the brother is getting fouled. He's getting fouled because, ladies and gentlemen, he's unguardable. That's really what we're trying to discuss. He's unguardable. He's George Gervin-esque when he gets into the paint and with his finger roll. He's very efficient at the basket. His mid-range game is godlike, and he can hit threes. So SGA, this really just comes with the territory, man, of just being a great player. And he is getting to the point where if they win this championship, if they complete the deal, we'll have to start talking about him potentially being an all-time great player combos just by the trajectory of his arc and his career. Because he's only 26 years of age, and if people think that this team is gonna just be a one and done and not get back. When you have that type of player that is leading your troops, you got a really, really high ceiling, man. And I've just kind of been in awe with what I've seen from really the past 3-4 seasons. As Buffy was saying, I think he just kind of put the brother on the map in terms of our group and letting us know that, like, you got niggas like Ja Morant to get a lot of love, but CJ was saying that, SGA, he better than Ja. And 3-4 years ago, people would have been saying no, but he was right. He was on that. He's just a really all-time great player. And then we're going to get into the whole international versus American aspect of it, because I think that has a little bit to do with this conversation as well, because we just tend to evaluate niggas completely different depending on where they come from. Because there's a guy that we haven't mentioned in this video that's up there in Minnesota, and niggas don't want to talk about him at all and none of his flaws. He perfect. He's just a perfect guy. But SGA got to average damn near 33 points per game on 51% shooting, shot 90% from the free throw line. His team won 68 games. We want to hate? People need to kind of do some reflecting and look in the mirror and just see, like, is that hate, that criticism, is it coming from a place of objectivity? Because it doesn't look like niggas are being objective. To me, it's either you're not being objective because you really don't understand the game. You don't really understand film. Because when I actually slow down film and look at it, he's getting fouled on some of these plays. Now, like all superstar players, some of them get the benefit of the doubt with the whistle, like Jalen Brunson. Like I saw a ridiculous clip today that I sent to the fellas of him not even being touched, and he's flailing and flopping. Off the ball, too. Off the ball, not even with the rock in his hands. Haven't seen SGA do that. Is he trying to sell the contact when he's driving to the paint? Yes, but that's what everybody does. But niggas that are off the ball, that are flailing when they don't even have the ball in their hands and nobody's even touching them, that's a tad bit ridiculous. But that's really all I got to say, man. I did want to just congratulate SGA for this remarkable season. A lot of niggas think he could have got the MVP last year, so it was definitely well-deserved. So Oklahoma City Thunder, man, let's just continue to – you're going to continue to get more haters, especially after you win this championship. So let's just close the deal, win this championship, expose these frauds, starting with the ones that are in Minnesota, man.
This whole SGA thing, I feel like a lot of fans are hating on him, mainly because – now more recently, when you bring up SGA name, there's one person that you can think of, and that's Kobe Bryant. When people talk about a lot of folks GOAT or top three or whatever, people hate hearing that comparison of SGA and Kobe. Even though you put the film side by side, you see when Kobe gets people jumping out the air. What he's doing a lot of things that SGA is doing now, and SGA, he said that's one of his favorite players. And that's who he models his game after. So, I mean, like, there shouldn't be no hate there. But I want to congratulate, SGA on the MVP. I mean, it was well deserved. First of all, what he's done with his team this year, nobody, they really didn't think OKC was gonna, make it to the finals, because once again, the narrative around them was that they were too young and SGA wasn't gonna be able to just pull them together by himself. So, for the fact that they beat Denver, and right now they're up 2-0 against Minnesota, and it's looking like it might be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep at this point. And they might just be capping off, a historical season, because they're great on offense, great on defense. Like the analytics and the numbers, I mean, they're just wow. They got the 68 wins. Then you got the MVP, the scoring champ. I mean, he's done a lot for this team, and this team is really, proving a lot of people wrong. And I don't know why folks are still not necessarily rooting for him, 100%, because they want the big market team in the New York Knicks, who's, down 2-0 by the Indiana Pacers, by the way. They want them to make it to the finals just so it can be, good for the market and all that. They want them to win, but it don't even look like they might make it to the finals. But, SGA, and I'll get more into, the international players, but I don't think the whole free throw merchant, foul merchant thing is, it shouldn't surround him. But I mean, yeah, of course, like, look at the NBA now. It's a lot of guys who they flail their head back and do all that a couple of times, but SGA doesn't do that every time. And, when I scroll through Twitter and look at comments, they'll be like, oh, it's not the frequency of the free throws. It's the whistle. It's the way it looks. So you're telling me every single time he goes to the free throw line, it looks like it's not a foul. It looks like nobody touched him. It looks like he's just throwing his head back, falling like a clown or something. You tell me every time. You tell me you watched every NBA game, every play where he shot a free throw, and he does that every time. No, he doesn't. That tells me you don't watch the game for real. But, you know, SGA, he even said it himself. He was like, "Oh, I'm averaging 8 free throws this year." But when nobody was talking about me, you know, like 3 years ago, I was averaging 11. Nobody called me a free throw merchant then, a foul merchant then. And when he averaged 11, it was 3 other people that still averaged more free throws than him. It was Joel Embiid, Giannis, and Luka. It was those 3. And nobody brought foul merchant up around him. But once, you know, the team starts getting put on the map, you know, he's going crazy. Now, it's a problem. Nobody likes it. But man, it's crazy because he's really not the only one that sometimes does this. Like Jalen Brunson, oh my gosh, dude. I like, especially that Piston series, like the main times that Asor Thompson was in foul trouble, it's because Jalen Brunson would just, you know, he sell it, not really, but he get the whistle by the refs, and a lot of those times you look like, no dog, no way you called that. But he's also just, you know, being a smart player. He's playing by the rules. Like he knows how to get a call, and you know, you look at like Jaden McDaniels, he frustrated him. He's frustrating him and you know, Jaden McDaniels, he was blowing by him. He hooked his arm, and then Jaden McDaniels, he just straight up pushed him because he was like, "Oh well, I had a foul to give, so you know, I'll just give it." And then, you know, you look at Ant, you know, even though he doesn't necessarily say it, you could tell by his face that he's, you know, not a fan of the whistle that SGA gets, but he's just playing by the rules. He's playing smart. And then even in that game 2, Ant, you know, at first he was kind of BS. He was settling for threes after he had like 16 to 18 at first. But then when he started driving to the paint and getting foul calls, he actually started playing smart, playing the game right, and doing what SGA was doing, was driving. And you wonder why SGA gets so many calls and he has a high volume of going to the free throw line. It's because most of his game is driving. Like he's not one to just settle for threes, even though he has the ability to shoot the 3 at a good percentage. He drives most of the time. SGA will mainly take like, you know, 3 threes a game, but if he's feeling it, he might take more. But most of the time, his baskets are coming from driving into the paint or going into the mid range. So, you know, but everybody loves, you know, they love the 3-point line. They love it. It looks more sexy. And, you know, that's why they just love watching Ant so much, because, you know, he was leading the league in threes this year and making all the threes, and they don't really care about the mid range game. Me personally, I love the mid range game. And when somebody's driving and attacking, I mean, it's perfect because it's working better. And that's what worked for Anthony Edwards. And that's what he's been known for, driving to the paint and doing all that. But this year, when he decided to, you know, put more emphasis on threes, it's not looking as good, because sometimes he'll take more threes than 2s, and then by the time it's too late and he wants to start driving, they're already done. So SGA, he's really, you know, he really needs a lot more love out here, especially for the MVP thing. I thought it was kind of crazy how fans were just reacting to him and talking about, oh, it should have been Jokic MVP, free throw merchant, all that. And then anytime that any media outlet posts like a game where SGA has a high scoring, or he'll score like 40s or 38 or something, they'll be like, oh my gosh, 15 free throws, oh my gosh, this and that. And I'll be like, bro, just stop with the gimmick. Like, it's the same thing with the Tatum is corny stuff. Like, the gimmick is just, bro, nobody wants to hear it no more, bro. Like, you didn't cook. And man, SGA, he just, you know, deserves some more love mainly about his game. Like, I don't really see how folks can really hate it. Like, the mid-range game, I love it. You know, he does look like, you know, more to Kobe than I would say to MJ, but, you know, mainly more than, you know, Anthony Edwards, because, man, all we do when we hear about Anthony Edwards, we just hear about the charisma. And Anthony Edwards, I mean, his criticism, he doesn't get it. Like, all it is, especially, you know, during this series coming on, I'm watching Stephen A. Smith, and, you know, he's putting more pressure on SGA, which I get, you know, won MVP and stuff like that, but he's putting more pressure on SGA. And I'm like,
but Jay,
dude, he's won more.
But Jay, that just shows that Stephen A. knows that SGA is better, so that's why he's putting more pressure on him.
Acts like he's getting put more pressure on him, and he's won more stuff than, you know, Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards won, a one Western Conference Final, or he made an appearance to the conference finals, and he's just getting these face of the league talks, and it's like, bro, he's not even a top 5 player. Like, what are we doing? And it's crazy, man. They just got to face the facts. SGA, he's him. He's gonna keep doing this for years to come. He's gonna keep averaging the 30 balls, shooting it efficiently. So fans that are really hating on his free throw game or his game in general, they just gotta, if you watch the game for real and you're a true, lover of basketball, you'll start to appreciate it. But if not, hey man, you just a hater and you just hating greatness.